Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I have a lot of tools that I bring to the game. My writing skills, improvisational acting, a fairly decent knowledge of the probabilities involved in rolling dice, experience as a game master and as a player. But one of the most powerful tools that I have spent a long time cultivating is my voice. And for years, I didn't even know that's what I was doing with my voice. I grew up in a musical household. Both of my parents enjoyed singing. My mom did musical theater when I was growing up. My dad, raised Baptist, just had this astonishing stentorian bass. You could tell he was singing from across the house or any place in the church when he really let it out. They were both in choirs. Every church we went to growing up, my parents were in the choir or even more involved in the church's musical life. As a result, I might have gotten oversaturated fairly quickly. I'm not much of a singer myself. I can sing. It would have been a miracle if I had grown up not picking up a few of those skills, but not hasn't always been my favorite activity. I like to filk a bit, though. I did pick up some random vocal skills. I wanted to learn ventriloquism at one point in time. I bought a home course from the Mayer Ventriloquism Studio, and while I'm not a terribly good ventriloquist, that course and that training did two things for me. One, it really got me started on the art of puppeteering, because that's half of ventriloquism, maybe more than half, is being a effective enough puppeteer that attention is drawn away from your face and to your dummy or puppet's face. And the other half of it is understanding how words are produced, how our mouths make sounds, and how to substitute different parts of your mouth for the parts that are obvious when you speak, so that when you're using your B's or your P's that require lip movement, you can fake it with different positions. I'm no good at it now, believe me, for a couple of reasons. I trained in animation voiceover when I was older. Worked with Susan Blue, and the school that she established in Burbank for training vocal range and acting for the over-the-top skills necessary to convey your voice when all you have is voice. As in when you're doing animation voiceover, the actor might be watched by the artists to get some cues for facial expression and whatnot. But what you are turning in at the end of the day, when you're doing animation voiceover, is just your voice. So everything you've got has to get packed into your vocal package, as it were. And why did I find this study of the voice so appealing? I enjoyed acting. I enjoyed doing work on the stage and learning projection, so that even in a theater where we weren't getting any assistance with our sound, there wasn't any electronic amplification, could still bounce my voice off the back of the theater so that everyone there could hear me. Again, why? My parents bought a set of records, good old vinyl LPs, back when those were a perfectly viable media for buying sound and music on. That was maybe 40 or 50 hours of old-time radio shows. Some comedy and mystery and suspense. And I love listening to the Jack Benny Show and Burns and Allen. Just wonderful. Abbott and Costello, great stuff. But the one that I listened to over and over, the one I listened to so much, I almost wore grooves all the way through the record, was Orson Welles as the Shadow in The Shadow versus the Creeper. Oh, the Shadow is a pop culture hero from that era, from the 20s and 30s, who could not have existed before radio. Just couldn't have. Because if you are not familiar with the character, Lamont Cranston is a man who has studied ancient Eastern mystical arts to the point where he has the ability to cloud men's minds so that they cannot see him. And in this guise, as the invisible, all-present Shadow, he tracks down criminals and enacts vengeance. The only thing that the criminal encounters of the Shadow is his voice. The Shadow is literally a character who reduces himself to his voice to incite terror in those who have done wrong. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. Those words put me to sleep every night. And even more in that episode, that particular episode of The Shadow, a show that ran for years on the radio. The Shadow used ventriloquism as a weapon. He killed someone with ventriloquism, using his voice as purely a weapon. Well, his voice, his intellect, a little guile, the bad guy's dynamite, a tunnel that dead-ended. The Shadow has made several comebacks. He's a presence in comic books to this day. There was a Batman meets the Shadow comic I was collecting a year or so ago before things went to being all closed in and stuff. He'd had a couple of runs that were interesting, but there was a movie made. Oh gosh, I was on my honeymoon with my wife. No, Scott, you're on your honeymoon with someone. I was on my honeymoon. We went to Universal Studios, and I saw the movie poster for the upcoming film, The Shadow. Oh, we bought that movie poster. My wife had it. I was so astonished and amazed and thrilled by the fact that that poster existed, that a movie was coming out, this character that had been so seminal for my skills set development and my imagination. She saw my eyes lit up. She had that poster framed in a professional frame. We still have it. It's in the living room. We don't really have a place to hang it, although I try to have some place for it. When I worked for the church, that was up on my wall because it seemed appropriate to have a giant set of sharp eyes looking out of the darkness with the phrase, "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men," across the bottom of it. Read into that what you will. The movie wasn't particularly good, I'm afraid. It was beautiful. It was a spectacle. Alec Baldwin did a fairly good job as Lamont Cranston, and as the Shadow. It was the villain was okay. The costume design was amazing. The set design was tremendous. The writing just failed it. It didn't have the gravity of the original property, which is, admittedly, it would have been hard to hit. But carrying forward with the development of the vocal skills. Those have stood me in good stead at the gaming table for a long time. I've had some problems with my throat. The animation voiceover career was sidelined by a couple of bad auditions and then a set of coughing fits and respiratory infections that damaged my range. And I've been trying to build it back up for years, but then there was this problem with cancer, and I don't have as much throat as I used to. The radiation treatments literally removed a couple of scales of vocal range from me. There are songs that I used to be able to just belt out right and left, and now I can't because the ability to hit those notes in those ranges just aren't there. I reach for the sound, and there is a space where there should be something to bounce the sound off of. I do still have a good lower range, which I try to use to my best advantage, doing the podcasting work with the layer action in particular. I have an announcer's voice, where I try to emulate some of the old radio announcer ad guy kind of vocalization. And next week on Dragon Ball Z, going deep and getting a little bit more of that vibration. I would practice this for hours, reading out loud to myself from some of my favorite novels. Just a particularly good bit of dialogue came up, and I would practice not only my acting chops, seeing if I could get the emotive range out of the statement in the book that I imagined when I heard the character saying it in my head, but seeing if I could get the projection, get the tone right, seeing if I could match in my voice what I thought when I read that character's words. All of which isn't a bad set of exercises. I had to teach myself to speak 3 times during my cancer treatments. Well, once I had to teach myself to communicate when I just lost the ability to vocalize. There was a good few months in there where there was just too much damage for me to use my voice at all. Oh, and for someone with terrible handwriting, that's off. I had a little tablet that I could use to write things out. And as frustrating as it was, thanks to my mom and my wife and folks helping me out and trying to understand, I managed. Quick word of advice off to the side. If you ever find yourself in a medical situation where you are going to have to go to the doctor quite a bit, maybe a number of different doctors, maybe go to the hospital a few times. Type out your medical history, and in particular, type out a list of all of your medications and their doses. Compress that down to a card size if you can. Print a few of those and laminate them. You can get them laminated at Staples, or even have them printed as business cards at Staples, because every doctor you're going to go to is going to ask you for that information over and over again. Doctors in the same office are both going to ask you for that information. If you go to the hospital one day and give them that information, and then go to the hospital the next day, they will ask you for that information, which is frustrating enough. But when you don't have your voice, it is just... So having a pocket full of those cards, I was able to just whip them out and put them on the form and send them back. That seemed to work out pretty well. Just life tip. But when I was able to talk again, I had all of my teeth removed for the radiation treatments. And it was going to be a while before they could give me the dentures. So I taught myself to speak without my teeth. If you don't think your teeth matter that much when you do a bit of talking, try and notice every time your tongue hits your teeth while you are making words, particularly when your words include the letter T. Uh, and you'll see where some of that problem is. You'll also find some difficulties with your S's at that particular case. It is not that these problems can't be overcome. There are still plenty of surfaces in your mouth. You just need to adapt how you use them. And then once the dentures came in, I had to learn to speak again because the dentures are perfectly good surfaces for teeth and tongue contact while you are producing sounds, but they are different than the teeth that you started with. And your tongue position has to change, and it's a training process and a lot of practice, and you're going to hate the sound of your voice and think you sound dumb, and just keep at it. As a dungeon master, your voice is your tool. You can have all of the terrain in the world. You can manufacture your own battle blocks and tiles and paint the most detailed miniatures or even model your own. That'd be awesome. You can set out the most impressive table ever made, and all of that does not remove your necessity to speak. The action, the characters, the life that is given to that scene comes from your voice and nothing else. Even if you are reading out of a published adventure, it is still your voice. Oral interpretation is a skill. I took semesters of it in school, learning how to take the written word and give it back the emotion that written language takes out of our communication, conveying meaning in not just the words, but in the tone that you use, the emotive content, the pacing of the words, how you space them from time to time. It's not necessary if you take a class to do this. But you've heard speakers that you like listening to. You have heard speeches that make sense. If nothing else, Aragorn to the troops at the end of Return of the King. But today is not that day. You've got yardsticks. Okay, Viggo Mortensen's a really, really high yardstick to measure yourself against. But two things I can recommend if you are, if you'd like to hone this particular tool, and you probably want to, just do a little work on it. It's an hour a week just to keep building the skill set and the talents. It'll make a difference in your games. It'll make a difference in how the people on the other side of the table look at you and react to your situations. If your voice can carry just a bit of gravitas, just a bit of emotion, if you can convey that there's an urgency to your situation just with your tone, it gives you another dimension to play with. One, record yourself speaking and listen to your voice. You are not hearing your voice the way everyone else does when you speak. You hear your voice as you're talking, but that is being changed by how it resonates inside of your body, by how your bones vibrate with your voice, and that alters the vibration of the bones in your ears just ever so slightly. The sound I am producing now is not the sound I'm going to get back on this video. I will be listening to this later on as I do my editing, and I will not recognize the voice for a minute. It's different. Get an idea of what your voice sounds like outside of your head. On your computer, most these things have a Hollywood quality microphone built right in, and most of them ship with a voice recorder application already installed. If they don't, you can find one for free in the App Store. Record your voice, listen to it, and see what you sound like. And then use your voice. Find a speech in a book or a supplement or a script online, something that carries an emotional conviction, something that means something to you. Gettysburg Address is a perfectly good one. And read it. Read it out loud. Read it out loud on your recording instrument, whatever that is. Read that. Listen to it over and over again for a little while, 4 or 5 repetitions every so often when you get the chance, and put yourself into it. Lean into your words. Try to feel the way you want the person listening to that to feel when you say it. Mean it. Because sincerity is one of the most valuable skills that you can develop. If you can convey that information with sincerity, you have probably nailed it. So sincerity is one of the most important things to fake as a dungeon master. I stumbled into these skills. I did not know I was learning to be a dungeon master when I took the acting and the oral interpretation and the writing and the group dynamics classes. All of it factors in. All of this stuff, psychology and sociology and history, art. All of it can apply. Whatever your skill set is, it'll work. I know engineers who put their engineering skills and thoughts into their role-playing games. Whatever you bring to the table, you are doing more than probably the people who wrote the material intended to be done with it, which is wonderful. But your presentation skills are going to factor in every game. And in more than your game. Your presentation skills allow you to put yourself out there and give your voice a little more power if and when it needs it. So, just as a recommendation, put a little time into it. You will reap rewards, believe me. Well, thank you for following me along with this particular rant. I recorded like 9 false starts last night, just trying to put my head together. And then I started thinking about the shadow, and well, it took me down the rabbit hole that we have now gone down together. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. Anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, suggestions that you have for topics, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, hit the notification bell so that you're made aware when my videos become available. If you'd like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.